For as long as we've been human, there's this one question that's always followed us, right? What happens after we die? For centuries, faith pretty much gave us a map. But today, a growing number of people are claiming they've actually visited the territory and have come back with a very, very different story. I mean, it's the question that sits at the very heart of so many of our beliefs. And traditionally, the answers we've gotten have come from two really different places. On one side, you've got established faith. We're talking teachings passed down through centuries. And on the other, something much more recent. These incredible firsthand accounts from people who have literally been to the edge of death and back. So the real question is, where do these two powerful perspectives agree, and where do they totally collide? First, let's start with the traditional map. For millions and millions of people, the church's teachings have provided a really clear framework for what comes next. The core tenets are probably familiar to most of us. The whole idea of salvation, a pretty clear-cut heaven and hell, and a final divine judgment. But here's the crucial part. It's all based on the belief that our soul has one single journey, one life followed by one eternal destination. That's the established view. But what happens when that traditional map is challenged by people who claim they've actually visited the territory? Okay, now let's dive into the reports from the brink. And we are not talking about just one or two isolated incidents here. We're talking about a global phenomenon with countless people from all walks of life returning with stories that are often remarkably consistent, yet at the same time radically different from what they were ever taught to expect. And what's absolutely fascinating is how consistent these stories are. People so often describe a brilliant, loving light, a feeling of just overwhelming, unconditional love, and a comprehensive review of their entire life. But it's that last point, recalling other lifetimes, that directly challenges so much of established doctrine. And this right here, really gets to the core of the whole conflict. This is where the abstract idea of faith snacks right into the raw power of personal experience. So let's actually put them side by side and see exactly where these stories collide. I mean, just look at the differences here. Traditional doctrine often talks about a divine figure of judgment, right? While these NDE accounts almost always describe a source of pure, unconditional love. And instead of a single life leading to some final destination, these experiences suggest the soul is actually on a continuing journey of learning. And this, of course, leads us to the biggest and most controversial point of divergence. It's an idea that is, for many, the ultimate taboo within Christian theology, reincarnation. And this is where the conflict becomes just impossible to ignore. See, on one side, the church rejects reincarnation, mostly because it conflicts with that core belief in a single life, followed by a final, irreversible judgment. But on the other side, you've got this massive, growing body of first-hand reports from people who say they have vividly recalled past lives. This is the absolute heart of the debate. So, what does this all mean? Is one side right and the other wrong? Or could these experiences be pointing us toward a much deeper, more profound mystery? What's really interesting is that for many who explore this stuff, the goal isn't to disprove God or to tear down anybody's faith. Not at all. Instead, it's seen as a chance to understand the divine in a way that maybe, just maybe, the church hasn't fully embraced yet. What if these experiences are pulling back the veil, not on some simple heaven or hell, but on a spiritual reality that is so much more complex, more expansive, and ultimately more personal than any single doctrine could ever capture? And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. What if the biggest revelation from all of this is that the afterlife isn't some kind of universal map, but a deeply personal journey, totally unique to every single one of us? What do you think about that?